Hi guys, this is Vineet, and in this video we will discuss about how you can backup and restore a SQL Server database on the on-premises. But before we proceed ahead, I would request you guys to please go ahead and hit on the subscribe button, and right next to it there is a bell icon. Click on that and select all notifications, and this basically gives us encouragement. So please subscribe and share this video with your friends. Now let's come back to the topic, so which is backup and restoring a SQL Server database on premises. So let's go to our notes, and before we go to the demos, in this video we will show you some demos how you can take backup and how you can restore it. But before that, there are certain limitations and restrictions where it is mentioned that backup statement isn't allowed in an explicit and implicit transactions. So you may watch my another video. You can find that video in my video list of what are implicit and explicit transactions. So backup statement cannot be used inside those transactions, and backups created using the more recent version of SQL Server cannot be restored on the earlier version of SQL Server. So keep these 2 points in mind. Now there are some recommendations before you take backups. As the database size increases, full database backups take more time to complete. So as soon as your database grows, the full database backup takes more time to complete, and also it requires more storage space. And for large databases, what we should consider, for example, we have a database which is huge or very large. What should we do regarding that? We should consider supplementing full backups with a series of differential backups. So differential backup is a backup which basically contains changes since the last full backup. So in an environment where we have large databases, we should consider supplementing full database backups with differential backups. And we can also estimate the size of full database backups using the SP space use system stored procedure, and that we had shown in one of our earlier videos, how you can use this stored procedure to calculate the size of the database. And by default, every successful database operation adds an entry in the SQL Server error log and in the system event log as well. And if we back up frequently, success messages will accumulate quickly in these logs, which results in a huge error logs, making finding another messages difficult. So in order to suppress these kind of error messages, you can use the trace flag 3226 to suppress these error messages. We will talk about this later in our upcoming video series, how you can suppress the messages. Now, what are the permissions required before you can take a database of any particular database in a system? So backup database permission and backup log permission should be there to the member of the person performing the backups. And basically these permission by default applies to the member of sysadmin fix server role. And we also need DB owner and DB backup operator fixed database roles as well. So a person should be a member of DB owner and DB backup operator role as well. In addition, backup database and backup log permissions are required, which is already available with the sysadmin role. Ownership and permission problems on the backup device physical file can interfere with the backup operation. The SQL Server should read and write to the device. So we should have a permission on device as well. We should have a read-write permission on that device. The account under which the SQL Server runs must have a write permission to the backup device. Now let's go ahead and show you some demos on SQL Server. So I'm taking you inside SQL Server. So this is SQL Server Management Studio. So what we will do, we will create a new database. We will take a full backup of it and we will restore it. So first of all, let's create a test database. So what we need to do, open the SQL Server Management Studio. We need to connect to our SQL Server instance, and we need to open a new query window. Now I will write a series of code. Let's wait for this window to open. So window is open right now, and we will write a series of code. You can get that wrong with me. So we are writing code. We are creating a test database using a create database statement. You can type testdb. So this is the first database statement. So executing it. So now test database is created. We can refresh the database folder. So a database is created, testdb with the default set of options. Right now it's not showing up, so let me disconnect from it and reconnect to this instance. So yeah, testdb is now there, and let's use next series of statement. We want to use this db. So right now you see the context is set to master, so we need to use that db. So for that, write testdb statement, execute this statement. So now context is set to testdb. Alright, now db is in use, and what we will do, we will create a table inside this database. So use the create table statement, and we will create a test table inside this testdb. Put a opening and a closing bracket, and we'll write a code inside it. So we are creating id integer type column, which is not null and is a primary key. So this column will get auto populated as this is the name of the column is id, it's of integer type, it is not null, and it is a primary key. Alright, and let's take a variable, another columns. We are taking name as one of the columns, so let's take name varchar 100. It contains variable, it can contain up to variable characters up to 100 characters, and I'm mentioning it as non-null, so this column should not contain null. And we are taking another column, let's take birth date. So birth date, I'm mentioning it as a datetime column, and it is also not null. And if the date is not passed through it, I'm taking default value as the current system date time, as this will take current date time at the time when the entry is getting inserted into a table. Let's end it with a semicolon. So execute this set of statement by selecting it. So this will create a table for us. So we can do a select star from test to see what's inside that table. So right now a table is empty, but yeah, 3 columns are there of this variety. First one is integer type, second one is variable character 100, and third one is the date time column type. Alright, and now what do we want to do? We want to insert certain values into it. So we are inserting 5 rows, basically doing insert into the table name, which is test, and we are just passing id, which automatically passes a system generated id. And so basically id is the column. Here we are mentioning columns, so we need to we need to mention the first column, second column, and we are not mentioning third column. So third column it will take automatically. So we are taking values for this, and we are typing one as the id and test one as the. So let's copy this statement and repeat it 4 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just change the values over here, 3, 4, 5, and let's mark it as test 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so let's execute this statement. This will insert 5 rows into the table. So 5 rows are inserted. We can check the test table. These rows are inserted, and birth date is taken as the system date time, which was at the time of insertion. So yeah, So what we have just done is we have created a database, we have created a test table, we have inserted few rows into it. Now what we will do, we will take a backup of this database. So let's close up these queries. So testdb has a table, so it has a test table, right? We will take a backup of this database. We can check the space used by this database using the sp space used procedure. So for testdb it's taking 16 MB of disk space at the present. So let's go ahead and take a backup of this. So we are already in a databases section, so you need to open SQL Server Management Studio, connect to your instance and expand the databases section, select your database. You need to right click on the database which you want to backup. Here we are backing up testdb. Right click on it, go to task and select backup. So it will open up a dialog box for you, and first we need to select the destination. We are backing up to disk, not to Azure Blob Storage, so we are selecting disk over here. By default it is backing up to this backup folder. So this is the complete path where it's backing up. We can change this path as well. If you want, you can change this path, you can remove this path, you can add another path, and that's totally up to you. Once you are fine with the path and you are taking a full backup, and so let's do a backup. This is a graphical way of taking backup, so let me do that. So backup is completed. So where is that backup stored? So you need to go to your C drive and go to program files, Microsoft SQL Server. Under that you need to go to your instance, which is I think this one, MS SQL Server. No, this is not the one. So select the one of the folders. Actually we need to check the storage location once again, so give me a second, let me check. See if I again go to backup destination, so the folder location is this, under MS SQL the backup is there. Okay, so under Microsoft SQL Server you need to select your instance and go to the MS SQL folder. Under that there is a backup folder. So we have just taken the backup of testdb, so which is present over here. Alright, now let me show you how you can take backup using the T-SQL syntax. So you may type code along with me. So I'm executing a new query against the testdb, so write code along with me. So in order to take backup you need to type backup database command. So after typing backup database command, you need to mention the name of the database, so which is testdb for us, and where you want to backup. We want to backup to disk, not to the URL, and we are giving path using an N notation, which is stands for the path may contain any Unicode characters as well. So I'm copying the path which is present over here. So this is the path, so let's copy it. So path is copied, and we need to mention the name of the backup file. So we are mentioning the backup name is SQL testdb 1, or maybe I can say testdb backup 2.bak is the name of the backup file. So these are the two statements which we have to write. After that you need to mention some additional options, so you need to type with, and we are specifying the no format option so that it does not delete any existing file or don't overwrite any existing file. So along with that you need to specify the no init option. You can check about these options on the online Microsoft documentation. For right now just type these keywords, and you need to type the name. So far we have specified the location, so let's specify the name of the backup. So it's SQL, or maybe I can type test db full database backup. I'm mentioning the name of the backup. And this name is used internally by backup and restore processes. And I've specified the name and specified the skip option, and skip option I'm doing, and no rewind, no unload option. We will discuss about these options in our upcoming videos. So for right now you can just type these options. No unloads along with stats 10. Alright, so we have written the command. You can execute this command. So file will get created with test db backup2 name. So executing this statement, so it is showing us progress in terms of percentages. So that's why we specified stats 10. So it will give stats after every 10% completion. So right now it's totally complete, and we see here test database backup2 file is created, and internally the name of the database backup is this, and we are fine. We have taken a backup. Now let's see how you can restore backup. So let's close this, and we need to be inside the SQL Server Management Studio. And in order to restore, what do we have to do? We need to right click, go to task and do a restore. Here we are restoring a database. So just click on that, waiting for it to open. Alright. So this is the backup we have just taken, which is a full database backup over here, and it shows us the date time when the database backup was taken. Start date, finish date, it specifies the size of the database. So you need to select restore database option, which opens up this dialog box, and we need to specify a device, and here we need to specify the name of the file name for backup. So whatever file we want to use as a database backup, so I'm using the most recent one, which is this, and clicking OK. So it has selected this. We can use other file as well, which is this, and let's remove first, and then we will add. We're taking the earlier backup. Alright, and let's see. So it's a test DB full database backup. It shows us the time when it was taken. So we can restore the database. So you need to select the file using the device option, and once this is done, we can press OK to restore the database. So prior to restore, let me show you. Let me first delete the table accidentally. Suppose I have accidentally deleted this table using the delete option. So I'm deleting the table. Now the test table is deleted, and I want to restore the database at this point. Right click on it, go to task and do a restore of database, and so by default it has selected the test DB and all. You can select the device, specify the file which you want to use for restore. So I'm restoring this file quickly using the OK button. So now it is restored successfully. Let me quickly see if the table is already there. So let's refresh the table section. So yeah, test table has come again. It was deleted earlier by me, and now I've restored the database. Now there's another way to restore a database. So let me show you how you can use restore a database using the T-SQL code. For now I'm deleting the test database again, test table, sorry. Now let me try to restore it, so you may type this code along with me. So what we want to do, we want to restore database. You need to specify the name of the database, which is testdb, and you need to specify from disk option, and then you need to specify the name of the backup file you want to use. So let me take the path. This time we will restore with backup2 file, so I will take that, and let's specify the name of the file. Let me copy the name of the file. So select the complete name and copy it. I'm restoring it from this file, and along with that you need to specify some other option. So just specify with file equals 1, and specify some additional options like no unload, and we can get stats at every 5%, so you may mention stats at that point. So it gives you basically the message at every 5%, the restore progress. So let's restore it. I think we are done with writing the code. You may also write the same code. So execute it. So it is saying that test database is in use by this session. Okay, so in order to restore, a separate database should be selected. So prior to that you can go to master database, so you can use master, then perform a restore. So let's execute it now. So it is giving some additional error messages that tail of the log for the test database has not been backed up. Use backup with no recovery to backup if the log, if it contains, work for you. So let me use one more option with replace. Let me try with the replace option. So let's try to execute it. So replace basically replace the existing backups. So now the database is backed up. This is the code for restoring the database from a backup, so which is done. And let's now go ahead and clean up some of the resources. So for that we can also run certain T-SQL commands. Let's see if tables have come up. Let's refresh the table section, which has the test table now. So let's try to clean up some of the resources. Let's open up a query against it, against the testdb. So we can run the following transact SQL command to remove the database that we have created. So basically along with its backup history. So in order to delete the backup history, we can execute a stored procedure which is inside the MSDB database. We use the schema. The stored procedure sp delete database backup history. This is the stored procedure you can use, and a parameter has to be specified for this stored procedure at the database name, and need to specify the name of the database, which is testdb. So what it will do, it will delete any backup history for this statement, delete any backup history for this particular database, and and we can specify goal right next to it, and after that the backup history is deleted, we can drop the database. So we should not be inside the database, so right now we are inside test DB, so it will not get dropped. So we need to use the master database. After that we can issue a command. Drop database is the command to delete the database altogether. So you need to say the name of the database and type go. So if you execute this statement, it will delete all the backup history. So backup history is like we have 2 database backup files. So log backup is also done here. So these 3 files are related to testdb. Let's execute this statement. So there's a syntax error, so I've removed the. So now the database history is gone, but the actual database backup files are still there. So data backup history shows inside that SQL Server okay. So right now backup history is removed and database is also removed. This database is not here. If I refresh the databases, do a refresh on this, this is dropped off, the test DB is dropped off. So let's close this. Backup history is cleared up from the tables. It basically stores the database backup history in the table, list of tables, what all backups we have taken. So that history is removed, although the files are not removed, but yeah, the database is removed, the history is removed, but not the files. So these files can be removed manually. So let's go ahead and remove these files. Alright. So alright guys, we are done with this video. So we have what we have discussed in this video. We have discussed how you can quickly take a backup using the UI, how you can create a test database first, how you can take backup of the how you can insert rows into that database table. So first we created a test DB. Under that test DB we created a test table. We have shown you how you can insert rows into that test table. Then we have shown you how you can take backup of that database which is test DB, and I've shown you how to do it from a UI and how to do it from a code, T-SQL code. And after that we have restored a backup using the UI, and also we have shown you how you can do that using the code. And in the last we have cleaned up resources, basically the database backup history along with the database. So I hope guys you like this video. Please do subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell icon, select all updates to get all the regular updates on my channel. And please share this video with your friends if you really like this video. Thank you so much for your time, and you have a wonderful day ahead.